It is 11 o'clock on a Tuesday morning, so welcome to Mrs. Mummy Penny Talks. I am live on Facebook and I am recording this show on my computer and I'm sat under the stairs as per normal. So we've got a bit of a delay to the show today, 24 hours late in fact. I like to do this show live and I have to do it from under the stairs where the sound quality is better. I was in London yesterday, so I couldn't do the show. And I shall go on to tell you why I was in London in a bit. So what have I got to talk to you about today? So I am going to share with you a little bit about the exciting event that I did last night. I got to talk on a panel to lots and lots of people. I was, for some reason, really nervous all day yesterday, but when it actually got to the event, I was actually quite calm and quite chilled and was able to talk with confidence as I always do. So yeah, that was a Champagne Lifestyle on a Lemonade Budget event last night with the Money to the Masses team. So yeah, I'll talk to you a little bit about that. I also, what else did I do yesterday? I was with some potential clients for lunch to work out what work we could do together, and then I went and sat in a coffee shop and tried to work, not that successfully. For some reason I decided that I couldn't actually write yesterday afternoon, so I sat there and drank coffee and watched the rain in Aldgate. I also want to talk to you about mortgages. So it's a process I'm going through at the moment, some investigations. So I've done some work with a company called Trussle, particularly about self-employed mortgages. And I'm also going to talk to you about some amazing freebies that I got hold of last week. So starting off then, I'm going to start off with the event from last night. So Money to the Masses, Damien and Justin, who run that incredible website. They've been running their podcast for years. I'm going to say they're on like episode 300 or something. So they've been doing it for a very long time. And we've been friends for a few years, and it was their first live event last night, and they invited me along to, oh hello Kirsty, they invited me to come and be one of their speakers on the panel. So there was me, there was Jordan Cox, aka the Coupon Kid, Damien was one of the speakers, then you had Emily from Habito, and then there was another guy and I've forgotten his name. I want to say Mike, but I'm not sure it's Mike, from Money Dashboard. Yeah, there was a variety of questions asked of us. So 600 people had tickets to the event. 600 people didn't turn up. It was a free event, so you always expect like a 50% dropout on those kind of events. So, but I would say, gosh, there was a lot of people there. There were no spare seats, and there were people sort of surrounding the edges. I would say there was maybe about 200 people. So yeah, it was quite a lot. And it was really nice that loads of people had like engaged on sort of Twitter and Instagram beforehand and said they were looking forward to seeing us, and so many people came up to me afterwards. It was really lovely. So I was there predominantly to talk about a couple of things. So debt first thing, and then turning a side hustle into your job. So yeah, I just sort of I told my honest story of how I got into debt and the process I went through of actually sort of recognizing that it had to go, and how I then paid it back. So I thought I'd share a little bit of that on this podcast today. So I've been in debt my entire life until now. I learnt from a young age, 18, that it was really easy to get credit cards, and it was almost like free money, so you could get something now and pay it back later. So I've constantly lived my life sort of in arrears, paying back stuff that I've bought on a credit card. So I got to a bit of a crisis point in August of not August, in April of 2017. Yep, when so my business was doing okay, but not well enough. I hadn't sort of changed my lifestyle quickly enough after I'd left full-time employment, and it sort of culminated in this sort of gap where it wasn't bringing enough money to cover lifestyle, and I don't really know what the lightning point was. I was talking to my friend Faith about this last night. I remember having dinner with a couple of money writer friends, and we were talking about applying for a mortgage. This is like 3 years ago, and I said I had 10 grand's worth of debt, and they were like, "You have to be careful of that because that's going to impact on your mortgage application." And I think that's what sparked the thought of, maybe I should actually get rid of this debt, because literally for 20 years of my life, I just carried on like in this perpetual circle of debt, and not even thinking that I needed to pay it back. It was just something that was always there and always paid on a monthly basis. So I had this sort of realization that, add it all up and actually come up with a plan to pay this debt back. So famous number now, £16,000. April of 2017 was when I started to pay it back, and it took me 2 years to pay it back, through a lot of restrictive behaviour and a lot of hard work. So really cutting back on the costs, as well as really upping the money I was earning as well. So the business turned around pretty quickly after sort of taking my head out of the sand and realising the debt needed to be paid back. I was able to pay back quite a big chunk by the summer of the first year, and then summer is a really difficult time for me. It's the boys are off school for 6 weeks, so that's a lot of activities you're doing with them and keeping them amused. And I slipped backwards in the first year, then I paid a load back, and then I slipped backwards again. But then eventually in April of 2019, this year, I paid it all back. The story has been well documented. If you search Financial Times, Lynn James, or The Sun, Lynn James, you can read articles in the national press. There's loads of content on my website as well. And actually, if you go to my website, a pop-up comes up saying, "Do you want a copy of my debt story?" And you can, I kept a diary all through those 2 years of pretty much a post every month, every 6 weeks, documenting the celebrations when I'd pay back a big chunk, or the realizations of not paying back a big chunk. Because as I say, it did slip back a couple of times. I just told everybody about my debt story. And it's just quite as so many people are in that situation of that rolling 0% credit card. So many people, probably half of the people in the audience last night had it. And the feeling you have when you're not in that debt is just, I still sort of think, oh my God, I don't have any credit card debt. It's a really strange feeling, because it's just something that I've always lived with for 20 years. It's very freeing, and it's an incredible weight off the shoulders. So I told that debt story, and then I talked a little bit about setting up Mrs. MUMMYPENNY, and just the sort of the breaking free from the corporate world, because it's something that I was never ever happy with. 16 years I spent in that corporate world. I skipped from job to job. I worked for a few companies, like I worked for HSBC, Tesco's, Threshers, EA, and I was never particularly happy with it. So I broke free from the corporate mold and set up my own business, and now I've got just an incredible amount of freedom. If I'm ultimately honest with you, I'm not really feeling it today. I'm really tired. Although when I went upstairs and put this lipstick on, that did make me feel a little bit better. I'm not doing a load of work today. I had a full-on day yesterday. Lots of, like, a sort of 18-hour day. So it's my prerogative to take it easy today. So yeah, it was a really great talk with just some inspirational people talking about some really interesting things. Damien talked a lot about investing and savings, and there was a really interesting concept he talked about, which was the 50 30 20 rule, which is so the money you have coming in, 50% of that is going to be spent on your sort of essential bills and, you know, mortgage and energy and food, shopping, all those kind of things. Then 20% of the money coming in goes to savings, and then 30% is sort of money left over to do like fun things with. So that was quite an interesting concept, that I was we went to the pub afterwards for the drink afterwards, and a couple of us were saying, I wish I'd known all of this information when I was like 22, 23, 24, and put a lot of these things into place at that young age. Like, it's amazing, like, learning all of this stuff and following all this stuff through, like, in your sort of late 30s, 40s. But, oh, I wish I'd known it all in my early 20s. And there was a couple of people there. I was chatting to this really great guy who's setting up a fitness business. He's 24. He's already putting money into a pension, and it was so refreshing to meet people like that. And the best thing about last night was everybody was just open and honest to talk about money and all the sort of elements surrounding money. It's so refreshing to have some like conversations with people where they just ask you questions and you just answer them with sort of truth and honesty about money, and the good and the bad. A couple of women came up to me at the end, and we had some really, really great conversations about they've been doing a job for 20 years and they want to break free from it, and they felt really inspired listening to my story. So it was really, really good. So thank you, Damien, for asking me to be on your panel. It was a great event. Thank you for the bottle of champagne. And yeah, I love doing those kind of events where you get that direct feedback from the people at the end. So yes, that was very good. Right, on to mortgages, I think I'll talk about next. So yes, I am going through a little bit of a process where we're selling our house. So I need to work out how much of a mortgage I can get if I want to buy a new house. So I've been going through this process, and a company called Trussle are helping me to sort out my mortgage based on my self-employed income. And I've also written about it on my website, because it's so incredibly hard to get a mortgage when you're self-employed compared to when you're employed. So get this, when you're employed, realistically, all you have to give is your last 3 months worth of pay slips and a month or two of bank statements, so they can look at your income and your expenditure. So if you're earning £35,000, your mortgage, less debts are obviously taken into account as well, but your 35,000 is pretty much the multiple of what you're going to get for your mortgage. Now, when you're self-employed, so you've got your turnover, which is in effect your 35,000, then you've got a load of business expenses, then you've got tax that comes out of that, and then you've got your bottom line profit. Your profit is what the banks look at for self-employed people. And a lot of self-employed people play. So there's two ways of looking at a business. You can either look at the tax efficiency side of running a business and running a limited company, or you don't be so tax efficient and you put more profit through, which means that you can get a higher mortgage. So you've always got to know sort of quite far in advance of a mortgage application as to what method you're doing with your books. So yeah, it's really hard, and the other thing is that most banks or mortgage lenders want 2 years worth of books. So if you're a new business, it's going to be a while before you've got your books, because you don't have to submit your books till, certainly for a company, till 9 months after your year end. so yeah, you're going to have to wait quite a long time to get those books out, and then first year of business, you never make any money, so it's going to be really hard to get a mortgage. So yeah, if you look on my website, it's the post that went live yesterday with Trussle of how to get a mortgage when you're self-employed. So Trussle gave me loads of really good tips of things you need to do to get your accounts into a great place for applying for a mortgage when you're self-employed. Predominantly things like declaring as much profit as possible, showing a clear growth year on year between accounts, getting on the electoral register, having a look at your credit file to make sure that that's completely clean. Yeah, lots of really great tips. But there are some specialist lenders out there who claim to be able to help self-employed people, but from what I've worked out, they normally charge a fee. Trussle don't. They receive a fee from the lender once the mortgage goes through. They do not charge you a fee for the advice they give you. It's all done on the phone, which actually makes it a lot easier. I was talking to Habito, who I was with last night. It's a very similar business, although I'm doing the sort of blog work with Trussle. But the guys last night were telling me it's almost easier on the phone to do mortgage applications because people are a lot more honest, because they don't feel any of that shame of talking about debt or any potentially bad things they might have in their financial history. So yeah, it's a lot easier a conversation to have on the phone, I think, with a mortgage advisor. So absolutely, if you are thinking of remortgaging, then it's a really great time to fix your mortgage at the moment, because interest rates are super low. They were telling me on the phone on Monday about a mortgage I could get, which was something like 1.6%. It was like a 2-year fixed mortgage with Santander, who will give you like 5 times your company profit. So it was a really great mortgage that they could give me. So yeah, if you're sitting on a variable rate mortgage, make sure you get a deal and fix it. Why not just give Trussle a call? Full disclosure, it was a sponsored post that went live yesterday, so I am being paid by Trussle, but I'm also using them. So I'm really impressed with their customer service, and if they can save me money, then they can save you money as well. So yes, that is mortgages. Who knows what? Oh, has my recording stopped? Oh, I think it has. Oh no. Oh, now I've started it again. Oh, I don't know how much of my recording I lost there. Oh well. So yeah. And something that I've got coming up about mortgages, actually, for my next post for them, is so lots of people talk about switching their energy, switching their insurance. Well, lots of people I talk about all the time, but actually the biggest cost saving you can make is changing your mortgage. Even so, my mortgage at the moment is £960 a month, and I think it's an interest rate of 1.9%. So just changing that interest rate down to 1.6%, the mortgage payments drop from £960 down to £890 a month. So just a 0.3% reduction in interest rate means a £70 a month saving in interest payments. So it's absolutely worth getting a lower interest deal if you can on your mortgage. It can save you a lot of money. So the last thing I wanted to talk about was some great beauty freebies. Really good beauty freebies that I got last week. So in John Lewis, most big John Lewis's have an Origins counter. You can get free facials there. So you can get, there's either like 15-minute or 20-minute facials. You have to book in for them. But there's no pressure to buy any of the products. Just get a lovely free facial. So I highly recommend that. And I got some samples of the products afterwards as well. and this is really cheeky, but I then had no makeup on my face. So I went over to Bobbi Brown and I said, oh, could I just borrow a little bit of makeup? And they were like, oh, it's okay, we'll do your makeup for you. So they then did my makeup for me for free, and they used a mascara on me, which they were like, oh, you can have this. So then I walked away with a free thing of mascara. So I had a facial and makeup done in John Lewis, all for free. It was very, very good. You can generally, I was talking to another one of my friends, Cara Gamble, about this beauty freebies, and we were like, gosh, I wonder what would happen if you went around to all the counters in a department store and asked them for like samples and stuff. You'd probably get quite a lot of free little bits and pieces. But yeah, I really liked getting my free facial and makeup from Bobbi Brown. Thank you. So yeah, I think that's enough, isn't it, for Mrs. Mummy Penny Talks. I know I've said I'm going to get guests on. I will get guests on at some point, but I'm quite enjoying just having a little bit of a natter to you by myself from under the stairs. Next week is going to be a similar thing to this week because I'm in London again on Tuesday. Very exciting. I've got the Aldi Christmas Spectacular event. Where we get to see, I'm going to get there like as early as possible, so I'm going to do a Facebook Live when I'm there, so you're going to get a really cool Facebook Live with all the Aldi stuff on Tuesday morning, you know, all their special things they've developed for this year. So they had incredible things last year, like the foot-long sausage roll. I might have made that up. Is it a foot-long? Foot-long's quite big, isn't it, for a sausage roll? But yeah, we'll see what kind of stuff they've got coming up for Christmas, and get to try some cocktails and some like desserts, and get to see what gifts they've got coming in as well. So I shall be showing you everything live from the event, so you get a sneaky peek. And then I'll record this show the next day, maybe talking about some of my favourites. Yeah, so thanks for watching, listening. I've not been very good at putting these recordings out there into the ether of podcast world. I really need to do that. Thanks for watching anyway, and I'll see you next week. Bye.